Have you ever felt just completely swamped trying to get a clear picture of something specific?
Oh, yeah. Like maybe you're looking into a new gadget or some niche market.
Exactly. And the amount of information out there is just, well, it's overwhelming, right?
It's like static, trying to find that one clear signal.
But sometimes, when you kind of push through that noise, you find some surprising quality, real value, maybe where you least expect it.
And that's pretty much what we're doing here today, isn't it? Cutting through, finding those hidden gems.
Absolutely. And speaking of unexpected finds, today we're doing a deep dive into something pretty specific. It's the Timex Deepwater Meridian 200 dive watch.
Ah, okay. Interesting choice.
Yeah, we're going to unpack what makes this watch noteworthy, kind of figure out where it sits in a really competitive market.
And how it manages to feel, well, maybe more refined than you'd expect for a quartz diver.
Precisely. Think of this as your shortcut. We're sifting through the details so you can quickly get what makes it tick, its place, its appeal.
We've definitely dug into it, ready to share the key stuff.
Okay, let's dive in then. First off, what is this thing? We're talking about the Timex Deepwater collection, launched in 2024, right?
That's right. These were designed as, purpose-built dive watches. They have these robust cases, proper 200-meter depth ratings.
In this Deepwater Meridian 200, that's a newer one for 2025.
Yep, a 2025 edition. And its core identity is a durable quartz diver, but importantly, it uses a stainless steel case.
Okay, seal case. Good start.
And an anti-reflective sapphire crystal. That's a big step up, means less glare, much better scratch resistance than the usual mineral glass you might find.
So it's got some serious materials upgrades. Now, the price. This is where it gets interesting, I think.
Hmm?
It costs, what, more than 3 times the price of those, like, ultra-budget dive watches out there?
Yeah, the real bottom dollar ones.
But, and this is the kicker, it still comes in under the price of a standard Moonswatch.
Right. That's a fascinating price point.
It really is. It's not just Timex asking for more money. It feels like they're positioning it strategically, kind of nudging into territory usually held by, say, Seiko's entry level, but still undercutting something trendy like the Moonswatch. Is that the play?
I think that's exactly the play. If you think about the wider dive watch market, for ages, if you wanted an affordable, traditional analog diver, 200 meters water resistant.
You went for the Casio Duro, right? The MDV 106?
Exactly. The Duro, everyone knows it. It's super competent, amazing value for, well under $100 usually.
But, and there's always a but, isn't there, for those of us who've maybe handled slightly more expensive watches?
It can leave you wanting a little bit more, yeah.
And the interesting thing is, those big Japanese brands like Seiko, Citizen, they used to own that affordable space.
They really did. But they've kind of shifted focus, haven't they?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
So if they're moving upmarket, maybe chasing the enthusiast crowd more, leaving that sub-$300 spot a bit empty.
That's exactly it. Their entry prices have crept up, past that sort of sub-Moonswatch threshold, as you put it.
Which creates a vacuum, right?
A definite gap for buyers who think, okay, the Bureau is great, but I'm willing to spend a bit more for something tangibly better, but maybe not enthusiast-level prices.
And boom, in slides the Timex Deepwater Meridian 200.
Precisely. It's aiming right for that spot, between the absolute cheapest and the more serious collector pieces.
Okay, so if it's aiming for that gap, what's Timex actually putting into it to justify that step up? Let's get into the build. You mentioned the stainless steel case.
Right. And that's a fundamental difference from a lot of Timex's cheaper watches, which often use resin or plated brass.
Which don't feel the same or last as long.
Not at all. This is solid stainless steel. And the specific one we looked at, the reference TW2WA 400-1700, it even has this dark gunmetal PVD finish.
PVD, physical vapor deposition.
Exactly. It's a tough coating on the case, the bezel, the crown. It just signals durability right away. Feels built to take some knocks.
And does that solid feeling carry through to other parts, like the crystal and the bezel?
Absolutely. So you've got that flat sapphire crystal, anti-reflective coating, plus a little magnification bubble over the date. Nice touch.
Okay.
And then the bezel. Unidirectional, of course. 60-minute insert, anodized aluminum. But the action.
The clicky bit. Always important on a diver.
It really is. And this one's genuinely good. You know how some budget bezels feel kind of loose or gritty?
Or have that annoying backplay.
None of that here. It's crisp, snappy, a proper 120 clicks. It just feels quality every time you turn it.
That's a good sign. And the water resistance, 200 meters. That comes from a solid screw-down caseback, I assume?
Yep, solid steel caseback, and crucially, a screw-down crown. It's got a little circular arrow engraved on it, tucked between guards at 3 o'clock.
And how does that crown feel? Sometimes they can be a bit stiff or grindy on affordable watches.
That's another area where this one surprises, actually. The crown action is really smooth, like buttery smooth along the threads. It's a small detail, but it inspires confidence. You know, it feels well machined.
Okay, so it sounds pretty robustly built. But how does it wear? It sounds like it might be a bit chunky. What are the specs?
Well, measurements-wise, it's 44 millimeters across. Overall height is 12.5 millimeters. Lug width is 20 millimeters, standard stuff.
Huh.
And the lug-to-lug is 50.5 millimeter.
50.5. Okay, that's not small.
It's not. And on the rubber strap, it's about 103 grams. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
It wears better than you'd think from those numbers. The caseback is relatively flat, and the lugs curve down nicely.
So it hugs the wrist a bit more.
Exactly. It keeps a lower profile than you might expect. So yeah, it's sizable, but surprisingly wearable.
Okay, interesting. Build quality sounds solid. Wearability sounds decent despite the size. What about the looks, the aesthetics? Does it stand out visually?
I'd say so. The dial is actually a real highlight.
Oh, yeah. What's special about it?
It's got this lovely radial sunburst finish, and get this, an engraved linear wave pattern.
Waves. Kind of like...
Yeah, it's pretty reminiscent of what you find on, say, an Omega Seamaster Diver 300 Amir.
Okay. That's a bold comparison.
It is, but the effect is there. Plus, it has applied hour markers, not just printed ones, and they're luminous.
Right. And the hands. And crucially, the Lume. Timex Lume isn't always, amazing.
The hands are interesting. They look almost identical in style to the ones on the Seiko 5 Sports series. Gunmetal finish, super luminova inside.
And the Lume performance itself. Is it better here?
Actually, yes. This is one area where the Deepwater really steps up. You're right, Timex Lume is often just okay. But the super luminova here is noticeably brighter, and it lasts longer than on most other Timex watches I've seen.
Huh. Okay. That's genuinely impressive. A real upgrade, then.
Definitely.
So a strong visual package overall. Are there different versions? Different colors?
Yep. 3 main colorways. You've got a standard stainless steel case with a black dial and bezel.
Classic diver look.
Then stainless steel again, but with dark blue instead of black.
Also classic.
And then there's the one we've been focusing on, reference TW2W8 1700. That's the gunmetal PVD finish black dial, but with this really bright yellow rubber strap.
Ah, the bold one.
That's the one. Now, on that specific gunmetal version, just a couple of minor aesthetic things to mention. Little quirks.
Oh, like what?
Well, the tip of the second hand is orange, which matches the crown accent,
Yeah.
but it clashes just a tiny bit with the little red diver's flag logo on the dial.
Ah, okay. Minor color clash.
Very minor. And the other thing specific to this gunmetal one is the bezel markings are black on black.
That could affect legibility.
In low light, yeah. It makes it a bit harder to read the bezel at a quick glance compared to, say, silver markings on black.
But just to be clear, these are quirks of that specific gunmetal and yellow model, right?
Yes.
Not the whole Meridian 200 line.
Absolutely. The other two stainless steel versions have standard silver-colored markings on their bezels. So legibility isn't an issue there at all. These are just, specific design choices for that one reference.
Gotcha. So, okay, we've got the outside covered. Feels solid. It looks surprisingly good. Wears okay. What's actually making it tick? What's the movement inside?
Right, the engine. It's powered by a Seiko Epson Caliber VX42E quartz movement.
Okay, Seiko quartz, reliable stuff.
Incredibly proven design, runs on a single SR920 SW battery cell, which should give you about 3 years of life.
Pretty standard battery life for quartz.
Yep. And it does what you need. Standard time, date display. It has hacking seconds, meaning the second hand stops when you pull the crown out to set the time precisely.
Useful feature?
And a quick set date function. Plus, it has an end-of-life indicator. The second hand will start jumping in 2-second intervals when the battery is low.
So it gives you a warning. That's good.
Yeah, it's basically a solid, reliable, no-fuss quartz workhorse.
Makes sense for this price point. Now, what about the strap it comes on? Especially that bright yellow one on the gunmetal model.
Right, the strap on the TW2W8 1700. It's a 2-piece synthetic rubber strap in that vivid yellow. Seems pretty decent. Importantly, it's a constant 20 millimeter wide. It doesn't taper.
Why is that important?
Well, on a 44 millimeter watch, a heavily tapered strap can sometimes look a bit thin or undersized. Keeping it 20 mm all the way gives it a bit more presence, balances the case size better.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
It's got that classic diver look, perforations, those accordion-style segments near the lugs, and it uses integrated quick-release spring bars.
Oh, quick release. Easy strap changes then.
Exactly, a nice little convenience feature. And the buckle is a standard Tang style, but it's signed with the Timex logo and has a matching gunmetal PVD finish.
So a decent strap overall.
Yeah, I'd say it's an entirely satisfactory option. Fits the watch's vibe. Most people probably wouldn't feel an immediate need to change it unless they just wanted a different color or material.
Okay, so let's pull back and look at the big picture. The overall value proposition. Where does this Deepwater Meridian 200 really land?
Well, like we talked about, it hits this interesting price point. It's got enough quality and features to potentially appeal to, more discerning collectors who appreciate the upgrades.
But it's not so expensive that it scares off the average person just looking for a good, solid dive-style watch.
Exactly. It kind of bridges that gap we identified earlier. It doesn't alienate the non-enthusiast buyer.
And you mentioned earlier, if you compare it directly to Timex's usual entry-level stuff.
Oh, the difference is night and day. You hold them side by side, and the step up in quality with the Deepwater is immediately obvious. The feel, the materials, the finishing.
It sounds like these are maybe the first Timex divers you could genuinely imagine someone using for, like actual diving or serious water sports.
I think that's fair to say. They feel properly built for it, not just styled like it.
And yet, despite all these improvements, the steel case, sapphire crystal, better lume, solid construction, it's still, around $229 retail?
That's the official retail, yeah. And you might even find discounts sometimes.
So we're talking the same kind of money someone might drop on a decent jacket, maybe a pair of premium sneakers.
Pretty much. Which really frames it as, still a categorically affordable watch purchase, considering what you're getting.
It's not really fair to compare it directly to a sub-$50 Casio Duro, is it? They're playing different games.
Not really, no. But what the Meridian 200 absolutely does is deliver a noticeably more refined, more elevated experience than the Duro.
So it really does seem like the perfect answer for someone who likes that basic Duro concept, affordable, reliable diver, but wants to step up to something genuinely nicer overall.
I think that sums it up perfectly. It finds its own space and offers a compelling package within it.
So maybe the final thought here is, what does a watch like this, the Timex Deepwater Meridian 200, really tell us about where value can be found today, in a market that seems so focused on either extreme luxury or just basic utility?
Good question.
And maybe, how do all those little nuanced details, the feel of the crown, the click of the bezel, the finish on the dial, how do those things, often overlooked, add up to create a sense of quality that goes beyond just the price tag?
Yeah. Something to definitely think about next time you're hunting for that unexpected gem, right?
Yeah.